This was round 1 of the Chicago Open, a tournament where my opening prep consisted of asking ChatGPT for 15 good openings and 15 not great ones, but that were tricky, putting them in a wheel, spinning the wheel, and whatever it landed on is what I would play in this tournament. It landed on the King's Indian attack for white and the modern defense for black. And so my prep was like, I watched one video for each opening, and then I played a few blitz games. In round 1, I was paired with Omid Malek. You may have heard of him.
Money, check. Swagger, check. What? Check. You know us.
You know what the craziest part is?
What?
That guy's like a 2200 rated player too.
The rapper?
Yes.
What the fuck am I witnessing?
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking cool.
So I get to my board, right? And I know that I'm playing Omid. For some reason, someone fed me some misinformation that they would provide boards. It wasn't the case. I didn't bring a board or a clock, and this was an issue in many of my games. Omid was like 10 minutes late. I think he was prepping for me because there's so much on the internet of my stuff. It was like jokes on him, you know? I play e4, and my opponent plays e6. So already I surprised him with e4, right? And he was assuming that I prepped for him, knowing that he is like a lifelong French defense player, and that I prepared some sort of line for him. He thought that I prepped for him. So this is like already working out very, very nicely in my favor. And then I hit him with the old 2d3. And then my opponent thought for 7 minutes. I thought it was longer than that, honestly. It was quite a long time for the opening. And he played the move b6. Now, what does b6 tell us about his mental state? In my opinion, it's not a good sign for him. I think what he's doing is he's trying to avoid my scary prep, which was like, let me show you exactly everything I knew about the King's Indian attack going into this. This is everything I know, okay? This is still everything I know, basically. Stephen Willie explained to me that the most challenging structure against the King's Indian attack is the French. So naturally, I really only looked at the French. And what I looked at in the French was after knight d2 here, like, okay, knight f6 or c5, like, whatever, I'm going to do the same things kind of regardless. What you end up doing, you go bishop g2, say bishop e7, castle, rook to e1, okay? And all I know is you basically play e5, you gotta play rook e1 to play e5, play h3, and what you're doing is you're like kind of cutting the board in half, pushing shit over here, and then you're gonna attack. And so once the knight goes here, you can go like knight f1, h3, one of the knights comes to h2 and then to g4, the other knight might come to h4, especially if g6 is already in, and then you just go. That was all I knew. And this came in handy many times, but that was my monster prep. So after b6, I only have a few things that I know. I have to develop my knights. So I just go knight d2. I thought for 3 minutes on knight d2. Bishop to b7, knight f3, d6. And this is like the start of what came to be known as the accidental hippo. It's a phenomenon that is more common than you would think. This is not the only case of an accidental hippo in my games. In one of my games, I was the one who played the accidental hippo. This tends to happen to people when they're trying not to commit to something, and they're trying to be flexible. And the longer you do that, the fewer options you end up having, really. Like, still, if he plays d5, I'm pretty happy. I have zero ideas aside from what I know. I'm gonna do this regardless. I'm gonna wait for knight f6. I'm gonna play e5. Like, if it's not good, I won't do it. d6, non-committal move. I go g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7. I don't know why I highlighted that, but castles and knight to e7. And knight to e7 does make more sense here, maybe, because I'm never getting a pawn to f5 now, right? Like, surely that's never happening. And now if I ever decide to play e5, he'll have the f5 square instead of having to move his knight back. So, okay, knight e7 makes some sense. He's potentially castling kingside. Like, rook e1 doesn't make that much sense here. I mean, it makes some sense, and I'll probably play it eventually anyways. But here it makes less sense because I'm not really going to play e5 unless he plays d5, and he already played d6, so I don't really think that's going to happen. At the same time, leaving the rook on f1, like, it could be useful for f4, but like I said, f5 is quite extremely difficult to get in and maybe not even good. So I just go h3, and the thing is with this structure, like I said, with the bishop on g7 and all these, like, holes on the dark squares, I really, really like this knight h2 to g4 plan, so the bishop and knight will complement each other, and if I can trade off my dark squared bishop or even a knight for this bishop, he's just left with like a really, really bad pawn structure and no dark squared bishop to compensate for the weaknesses. So positionally that would be fine. I don't need to attack. That would just be like a long-term advantage or accomplishment for me. So h3, that is my idea. Knight d7, continuing with the hippo setup. And, you know, ironically, hippos are the most dangerous, violent, aggressive animals on the planet for humans. They kill the most people. But this is, like, such a lousy, tame opening. Like, usually openings named after animals are bad. But, like, the cooler the animal, the better the opening. Like, the dragon's fine, you know? But, like, the hippo doesn't live up to its name. Anyways, I go knight h2. So an interesting thing is going on here. Like, if he castles, I kind of have a ready-made plan. Like, either rook e1, knight f1, but that doesn't really make sense now. So, okay, like, knight f3, knight g4, and then dark squares. That's my plan, vaguely. I don't really know how the attack will play out. And I think he should castle. I don't think that it's really objectively that good for me, but I understand not wanting to castle into it. So he's like delaying that. He goes c5, which is a very logical move, taking control over d4. Possibly putting a knight here in the future, inducing a pawn push, something like that. Just gaining space. We're kind of just in like a closed Sicilian structure at this point, which is fine. I was fine with that. The King's Indian attack is okay against the closed Sicilian. I go with f4 because I know I want to put a knight on f3 and I would rather have a pawn in front of it. Again, like f5 is probably never happening, but central control or something. Queen c7, another flexible move. He's getting everything out. He's not committing to the king side. He's thinking about going queen side. And so this is another like point where I had to do something. But what? Psychologically, where my opponent's at right now is he doesn't want to castle kingside because of the big scary King's Indian attack. Common theme in my game. He obviously shouldn't stay in the center too much longer because eventually my pieces will get more mobilized and ready for the king to be in the center, and then, you know, maybe I will play f5. You know, play g4 and f5. Who knows? So what I want to do is discourage him from feeling safe on the queen side as well and make a move that's useful. You know how I am. I like to ask my 3 questions. I like to ask, where are the weaknesses? What's my worst piece? And what's my opponent's idea? So here, like, I think the biggest, like, weaknesses, like, d6 looks kind of ugly. Like, it might be difficult to deal with. I would say the dark squares in general are black's weaknesses here. My worst placed piece would probably be this one, but doesn't really apply right now. All my pieces aren't great. And yeah, my opponent's idea is to castle queenside. So someone in the chat says a4. That's what I played because I don't really believe this move will do a whole lot to discourage castling queenside. I believe it's still possible, but psychologically, when someone pushes a pawn near where you're about to castle, it's like difficult to deal with. But it had a secondary point. I'm also preparing knight to c4 in the case also that his king goes this way, targeting the d6 pawn in some ways without being kicked away so easily. And then in turn that would give me a chance to develop my bishop because this would be defended. And this is all, you know, only in the case that d5 doesn't work, which I'm not a very concrete player anymore. I'm mostly just vibes. Yes. My position is Bing chilling. He's the one that needs to make the decisions. Yes, that's my favorite, like, way to play chess right now. Is like, I don't give it, like, you think about it. I'm not gonna think about it. This is your problem. It's so much fun. It's so relaxing. I used to have so much anxiety while playing chess, like going to the bathroom to throw up and, like, just panic attacks. And now I'm just, like, so relaxed, you know? It's good. Anyways, a4. And my opponent, of course, like, I don't like Castle this way, I don't like Castle this way, I'll just go a6. Maybe I'll play b5, maybe I won't. But it's still another, like, waiting move. And so here's the move that I really liked that I played. I need to make another move that is both productive, just in general, but also is a move that's ready, no matter where the king is, whether it goes kingside, queenside, or stays in the center. Let's pause the video here. Rook a2. I did not play rook a2. Rook a2 never occurred to me. Your idea is to go, like, here or something, and then, is that what? How to pause. Well, the Twitch chat, you know, you guys, like, you're here live, so you don't get the same privileges, but also you get more. God, I really be yapping a lot. Am I even saying anything useful? I hope so. Rook a2, b3, bishop b2. Okay, but at that point, why not just put the rook on b1? I think that move is a little too creative, is what I'll say. So this is another move where the shapes and colors work out. Like, I talk about this sometimes. My boy Daniel understands. Don't know, a move that kind of does nothing but steal something is c3. Yeah, like c3, I have really, really strong doubts that it would ever be, like, bad. Like, it can't be bad. It's contributing to the center. I might play d4. It's stunting the bishop. I don't think it's ever bad, but it's a move that might not be necessary. And my whole thing this whole tournament was not making unnecessary weaknesses. Even if it's, like, really doesn't seem like it'll matter at all, if there's a move that might make, like, an unnecessary weakness, like 30 moves down the line and a move that doesn't, I'm going with the move that doesn't. So, like, c3, I'll play when it's necessary to play it, but until then, I'm not gonna, like, weaken these two squares unnecessarily. So I went queen e2, which just, for some reason, I really like. It might not even be good, but it's still, like, eyeing the king side, the queen side, and the center. It's getting ready to connect my rooks. If the king goes this way, you could always see, like, d4 happening, and then the a6 pawn becomes weak suddenly. This bishop disappears. Like, it could still support an h5 push, potentially. And, of course, being in the center, like, it supports f5. Queen e2 Chad move. Yeah. Queen e2. I like queen e2. Yeah, king h1 I could also always play, but I don't know, like, queen e2 I thought was quite productive. So my opponent goes knight to c6, okay? So he's still not castling. He still doesn't want to show his cards, really. Because the thing is, like, as soon as he shows his cards, I don't want to show my cards too early also. Like, if I played a move like knight g4, preparing and just assuming he's going to castle kingside, like, maybe this would be a good inclusion. Still seems premature, obviously, but just, like, for argument's sake, like, that is all true, but what happens if he just, like, plays h5, then goes the other way? So, like, as soon as I bring too many pieces over to one side of the board, he'll go the other way. So, like, I'm like, I don't know, name a sport where you're, like, trying to follow your opponent and you're, like, wherever. I don't know. Cut that part out. That was stupid. Anyways, queen e2, knight c6, and now I play c3, because now it's, like, extremely necessary. Like, it makes this knight look a little bit goofy here. Of course, if I don't play it, the knight would look pretty okay. But if he had left the knight here, this is another subtle difference. Like, if I had played c3 here, he doesn't have to play knight c6. So the knight is maybe better here? Maybe not, honestly. The knight's not so good, but the point is playing the move that is necessary no matter what, and then the move that is necessary now. I think it's like a teeny tiny, like, slightly... Am I feverish? Why would you say that? Anyways, I played c3. With all the same things happening as before, but maybe better now because the bishop is blocked, the knight is redundant. Is that the right word? Who knows? What if you wait for knight d4, then c3? That is possible, but then he'd get a tempo on my queen. It's difficult to put my queen on a productive square without allowing a tempo. I can't play queen f2 because of this, obviously. I can't play queen f3 because the tempo still comes. And then it was like, why did I put my queen here in the first place? Maybe you want knight f3 or something. But then my knight is not ready to come to c4 in the case of castle's queenside. Like, I want to leave the pieces where they can go anywhere. Anyways, c2 is hanging? Oh yeah, that too. I didn't think about that. I mean, my move kind of defended it accidentally, but... Now the question for my opponent is now what? How do you improve another piece without making an actual commitment or decision? And so it is at this point where my opponent finally castled. I mean, he could play h6, but that's, like, really pushing it with the pawn moves. Like, that's getting, like, pretty ridiculous. Not that it's not already with the hippo-y-ness of the position. So, my boy Omizi decided to castle queenside, which the computer obviously says is dubious. So we have an opposite sides castling situation here, but, like, come on. Like, I'm not getting attacked. My evidence for that? I don't know. Just doesn't feel like it. So now that the king went to the queen side, it's time to start pushing the pieces over to the queen side, obviously. And there's, like, something going on here. He's always going to be considering this really interesting pawn sacrifice with d5. And at the right time, this might be quite good. But it's also the type of pawn sacrifice that, if it's not good, you're down a pawn and your position is bad. So we'll talk about it. He ended up going for rook e8 first. Let me turn on the computer. Yeah, okay, so he had a friend with him who was playing in the open section, open over 2300. He was titled, he had, like, what sounded like a French accent, which maybe makes sense if he's Canadian. I don't know. He liked d5 here. He thought this was the time. I'm assuming followed by knight f6 with tempo on the bishop. And here what's going on is, okay, suddenly if we take a look at my pawns, d3 is a weakness, g3 is a weakness, h3 is a weakness. He's going to get the open e8, the open e8, e1 diagonal, or e-file. Diagonal. He's going to get the open e-file with tempo on my queen, and the argument here comes from piece activity. I guess I would go, like, bishop g2. Yeah, bishop g2, checking my work. If I leave this diagonal, okay, this d1 to h5 diagonal, all the moves look quite bad, but then the knight comes to h5, and this is always a problem. Also, this might be an interesting sacrifice. In the previous position, I would have had queen g4 check in response to knight g3, so the pawn is tactically defended. It's not actually attacked because he can't take it. But then all of a sudden, he's, like, prying me open, and this is still not developed, this is not developed, and my king just looks super weak. And it's scary. The computer says this is equal, but I do think that this was his best try. He agreed, so did the high-rated player who was helping us. So d5, this was his shot, basically, to, like, turn the game around and, like, get play. In a lot of the positions, black is, like, slightly better, even though white is up a pawn. So that's how, like, dangerous this is. I might have just fallen apart because it looked difficult to defend. So he decided to prepare it in a way. He played rook e8, making d5 look more enticing. But I just closed the diagonal. Why do I keep saying that? I closed the file and developed a piece and gave myself another defender for my king and another attacker and connected the rooks. And so at this point, d5, like, probably should still be tried. But I also don't have to take this. I could. But, like, okay, what does he do if I just, like, go back? Or knight d2? I don't know. Another chess game would have happened. It's diagonal when you're on mushroom, I see. So then my opponent made what I think was a pretty bad move. Let's look at the time situation. Try to give him some credit here. Oh, wow. After the move castles queenside, he had 43 minutes and I had 55. After he played rook e8, he had 34 minutes. And then after he played this move, he was down to 24. And I still had, like, 48. Shapes, colors, and straight diagonals. Yes. Whatever. You knew what I meant. He played knight a5, which, like, it should be quite obvious why this is a bad move. But I can understand the frustration if he's, like, for 10 minutes thinking and trying to get d5 to work and it's not working for him for whatever reason. I think he was looking at this line, like, where I accept the pawn sacrifice, and after knight f6, bishop f3, I don't remember. Like, I think he just couldn't find a great follow-up here, because in this case, also, knight h5 isn't helpful, because maybe I just take it, maybe not, because then I might have problems on the light squares. But it's like a wide open position in the sense that there's, like, 12 moves that are all, like, probably equally, like, worth considering. I'm exaggerating. But from afar, looking at this position, trying to evaluate it, when there's no, like, real, like, obvious forcing follow-up, it's really hard to commit to, like, a sacrifice for this type of position. And it's something you would just have to go on based on your intuition. And I also think that he was on like a bit of a, decline rating wise. He was talking about that after the game, and it's like, so am I. But so he wasn't really trusting his intuition, I think, was the big problem. He was sad because he had been losing games recently. So he talked himself out of the pawn sacrifice. And he played knight a5, which is just not good. Let's see. How much time did I spend on this move? I spent like 4 minutes. I did a pretty good job with my time management in this event. The time control was a little weird. It was game 80 minutes with a 30-second delay. And then after move 40, you get 30 more minutes. So it was actually like weirdly a lot faster than 90-30. And as the tournament went on, I learned the meta better and like how to you like use the clock as like a tool against my opponents, like approaching move 40. So obviously I take that fucking thing off the board and give him the doubled pawns in front of his king. I made some arrows here. Not sure what this highlighted square is. I think this is when I was showing that woman the game. But what did he accomplish by this? I think he was just really feeling the lack of space and wanted to get rid of some pieces, but I don't think this was worth it. Like with the doubled pawns now, I didn't have to concede anything, really. I guess this was another position that felt like a little bit critical. Identifying critical positions is an important skill because you need to think more during critical positions. But if you don't know when those critical positions are happening in the game, it's like, well, how was I supposed to know to think more? And I think they happen like right before a big change in the position, like during big changes, and right after a big change, being like pawn structure changes, big breaks, trades, like shifts in dynamics, things like that. So here the pawn structure changed, pieces changed, and so again I kind of reevaluated things and like shifted what was going on in the position and my objectives. And I said, okay, what are the weaknesses? These are weak, this is weak, all the dark squares are still like kind of weak. Like basically you could argue that all the squares around the king are like a little bit weak. Like just generally the king is weak as a concept. And then my worst piece is my knight, obviously. Like the knight on h2 was there in the case of castling kingside. It was going to go to g4, but right now it still looks really stupid. And my knight on c4 was so irritating for him that he gave himself these bad pawns in order to get rid of it. So now it's time to start the long journey. Take the worst piece, bring him over to c4, make him my best piece. So here we go, knight f3. And I have like a little bit of a space advantage, which leads to a time advantage. Like I can just kind of do whatever I want. I got the time if I want to put the knight over here on c4. And then my opponent makes another strange move. Keep in mind he has like no time left. He's been spending a lot of time. After knight b8, he has 27 minutes, or 22 minutes. I can't really read my handwriting. And it's only move 17. And he has to get to move 40 before he gets his extra 30 minutes. So don't be too hard on him. It's a really tough time control. So knight b8, maybe adding extra defense to a6 was probably his point. In the case of d4, maybe he was just worried about that situation. In a way, preventing d4 because this pawn is capturable now because the queen can't take on a6. Okay, I figured it out. That's a reason for it. But I didn't give a shit. I was just bringing the knight to c4. I was like still putting the pressure on him clockwise, and like this is the plan. So he goes to f5, which I had trouble understanding. I mean, I'm not gonna take it. Like I'm never gonna take that. And what he's done is like even more weaknesses are happening. But I get it in a way. What do I do now? Now that Steph has her openings figured out, she can really be pressuring him on the clock. That's right. What do now? This piece is pretty good. This piece is pretty good. Bring the knight to c4 if I want. But at this point, I don't know if I even really want to, because maybe I want to take back with the knight. Maybe I want to put the knight on g5 again. Who knows? I don't know. Knight c4 is always an option now, but is there another piece I can improve? Finally, a committal move. That's right. Maybe I was thinking a lot about d4 here. I played the move rook a to c1 for a few reasons. Number one, like, I just liked getting out of the way of this in general. But I liked preparing for both the d4 and b4 break. Gives me more options, gives him more to think about. Don't see how this move could ever really be not good. So I'm still kind of trying to attack him. My opponent takes on e4. I played knight takes. He said he was quite discouraged about that. And then he made another like really questionable decision. It's difficult for me to even explain this one. I think this was just bad. This was just very bad. I think he wanted me to take with the bishop, I guess, and then play d5, and then he got a tempo and got the center, but like I just take with the pawn, and then he doesn't have a light squared bishop, and his knight is stuck babysitting. This bishop is biting on granite. I'm talking like squeezy jibs right now, so I don't really get that one. This one that wasn't a good decision by him. So he goes d5. I'm not gonna take this shit. Pawn structure wise, okay, he's given himself a backward pawn. His only hope is if these two rooks become like both on open files or semi-open files, right? So we just shut that shit down right away. We fix his pawn on a bad square. If he wants to open lines, he's gonna have to do it in a way that makes my bishop strong. Very strange for Omid to play like this. I think it was mostly psychological. Like, it was a difficult position he was in. He was like afraid of my very dangerous prep. And like, yeah, he's been on a downswing, and I understand what that's like. So I was also on a downswing. I thought I was gonna hit my floor at this tournament, but I didn't. Okay, so like these are huge targets. E6 and A6, those are kind of the things now. Opponent plays bishop f8, and he's gonna try to like get something going here like this. Now I set a trap, okay? I'll play a useful subtle move that sets a subtle trap. Does talking about your position out loud tend to help you? This is a game I played in the Chicago Open. To answer your question in a helpful way, when I started doing these videos, I think I actually started to like chess and understand it better, because putting it into like these verbal terms like made chess so much easier than I thought it was. Like, I'm not saying chess is easy, but to play at the level that I'm playing or was playing requires far less energy now than it was when I was 16, and I would just like, the only thing I knew how to do was calculate. I was good at calculating. I could calculate like 10 moves deep, like, and I was always calculating. I would never stop. I would always be calculating something, but I understood nothing about chess, right? But now I'm like the opposite. I suck at calculating, but I understand more than I did when I was 2000 last time. So, do you know what I mean? All right, so let's do some shapes and colors again. This is the Zefcat method. King is weak. Attacks usually happen on one color square, right? If attack happen, I thought attack happened light square for a few reasons. Number one, he no have light square bishop. Light square is more weak. Number two, big weaknesses in position on light squares. Number three, king on light square. Then we just connect all the light squares and where they connect to the king and connect to where our pieces can connect. So these are the important pieces and shapes and colors. Where did they all connect? D5. So we go rook D1, preparing queen G4 to try to take this pawn and have it be pinned. Escaping this pin would just cause another pin. So rook D1 is useful because it's putting a rook on a semi-open file. And why am I talking like squeezy jibs? But it's also baiting the potential h6, which I thought he might play, which he did, which makes queen g4 even more powerful, because now there's another pawn on a light square weakness, and this is pinned, so I just win a pawn here. What now, chat? Yeah, that's what I say in my head during my games. Like, are we cooked, chat? Geometry is a different kind of calculation, I suppose, but it's just like a way for me to like train like where my eyes go, and then you just like connect it. It's like, okay, that's probably an important square. What if I put this here and blah blah blah? Instead of looking at every legal move just at random orders until one is finally good, you just know like it. Instead of randomizing like all the legal moves that you have and looking at them randomly, it like puts them in like the correct order in which you're supposed to look at them. Does that make sense? Did you consider b4 right away? b4 is always on the table, but it's another thing where it's an unnecessary complication I don't want to go for when I could just like keep picking and poking and prying at him. So queen takes g6 is threatened, bishop takes d5 is threatened, rook takes d5 is threatened. He goes knight d7 to break the pin so that after I take here, he'll be able to take. And I just say, what are you going to do, checkmate me? What are you going to do? You're going to get both rooks on the g file? You're going to checkmate me? Okay. God, I'm an asshole. That's how my brain's been working now, though. I'm just like, okay, like, if I lose, I lose. Just, what are you gonna do? You know? I'm taking more It's not even really a risk. I just didn't believe in it. Look at his pieces. They're all in the back rank, essentially. All right, so he goes c4. And finally, I understood the point of the whole knight b8 maneuver. That might only be true if the knight started on c6. I don't think it did. Where are my weaknesses? I'll tell you where they are. They're on d3, b3. You know, this is like arguably could be a weakness. Like these pawns are generally a little bit weak, especially g3. The second rank as a concept could be weak if the rook gets in. But the horsey wants to be on d3. That's where he will be happiest. How many moves left till 40? We're on move 25. And he has 9 minutes, but I'm already down to 12. So I really burned a lot of my time in the last 10 moves or so. But yeah, we're inching towards time control. So I just go bishop d4 to be really solid. I just like complete the pyramid, you know. This is a loose piece, arguably. I think I had another reason behind it, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, I remember. Okay, so I'm preparing maybe f5 at some point. Okay, so opponent goes knight c5. Here's the dilemma. If I take the knight, I no longer have the bishops. It's fine. Like, I'll still win. But, you know, if attack happens on my king, it'll happen on the dark squares. I don't have a dark squared bishop, and if this gets in, it's like, I don't know, it could be bad. It's hard to defend this way. It's hard to defend this way. I don't want to do that, right? But I also really don't want a knight sitting on my face. So what do? We ignore everything. We play f5, and we say, what are you going to do? Put your knight on d3? I fucking dare you, right? So what happens if he takes? That's the first one. Always YOLO. I started using that phrase. It helped me win a game. Your weakness is that you haven't sacked on d5. Sack on d5. You're absolutely right. You said that. That's a delayed reaction, but yeah, it's not a sack. But like if he takes, I take his rook. So f5 is not actually possible to capture. So the plan is to put a pawn on f6, get a passed pawn, and win. And he puts his knight on d3. And you know, for like 1 second I considered moving this rook, but I was like, get it out of here. That knight is not worth my time to even think about it. f6 I know is worth a piece. Or an exchange at least. But maybe a piece. Not a piece. Exchange. Maybe a piece. The difference between our two pass pawns is that mine is supported and his is not. So I'm gonna just snap that fucker off the board. He goes d2. We still have like 10 or 11 moves to make till time control. Rook d1 is forced. Bishop c5. I just take... Or no, I don't. If I take... Bishop takes d4. Rook takes d4. This is hanging. If I take with the pawn, my rook hangs. So, you know, I still have to be careful. It's not a position that's, like, unlosable. I played queen d3 just to be solid. He goes queen b6. I go rook takes, defending the b-pawn. Rook g8, hoping to get something on me here. I just go king h2. These moves all were played pretty quickly, and they're all pretty obvious, I guess. King b8. And so here, you might be wondering, why can't you just, like, take this, remove the guard, and then take on a6? Why can I or can't I? Because I didn't think I could. He's a sneaky boy. I have 3 minutes here, and my opponent has 4. Yeah. Like, that looks really scary. With no time, queen e3, attacking my rook, attacking my pawn. Of course, what I missed here, or maybe I didn't even miss it. I think I saw rook d3, but I was like, like, this falls, and what's happening? And again, when you have 3 minutes, like, that is such an unnecessary complication to go for, even if it is winning. So, I did take on c5, but then I was like, alright, just trade the queens. I'm not dealing with this. Queen c7, b4. I don't know what that arrow means. And rook g5. So here comes the doubling. It's slightly scary. The problem is, okay, so this is like, there's a kink in the chain. Is that a saying? There's a missing link in the chain of pawns, right? So the e5 pawn is weak. The e5 pawn falls, my compensation falls, and I lose. So I can't lose that pawn. Pawn can't be defended by anything but the rook and the queen. If he gets all 3 of his pieces on it, I only have 2 pieces that defend it. It's all very, very self-explanatory in a way. Rook g8, rook e3. And so This is the best rook on the board because it's defending all of my weaknesses. It's doing a very good job. But now comes this doublage. So he doubled here, but now, like, what's the response to this doublage? It's looking a little scary. This is move 38. 2 more moves. I have 1 minute. Yeah. H4 was the plan, actually, for a long time. Because now, like, if you don't have the G5 square, you can't actually usefully use your rooks in any way. All my squares are covered. There's only 2 squares that the rooks could both be on, you know, but I can't get back to that square, that one, can't get to there. Anyways, doublage. Sure, yeah, it's a word. He goes rook f2. The other way I could lose is, like, if something really bad happens and, you know, the rooks get up in here. Yeah, bishop h3 at some point, maybe, but, you know, rook f2 comes and that dream is kind of forgotten. So here I'm on move 39. I have 1 minute left. I go rook f3. And after rook e2, I was going to just go rook e3. That was the plan. And he goes rook e2. We've both made move 40. But it's not going to happen to me where I think that we're actually on move 39. And I think I've made my 40th move. And I get up and I walk away. So just like as like a little, like, you know, just to reassure my brain, I just made this move too. And I thought we were going to repeat. And then I walked away and took like a break and breathed a little bit, drank some water. Because it was, while I was winning, like there were at least 2 or 3 scenarios we talked about where I could have lost. So it wasn't like stress-free by any means. So I gave myself a break. And now the second like converting phase of the game comes in. We both have 30 minutes. So I come back to the board. I play queen d3. I'm eyeing these 2 guys over here. And I was expecting queen a7. This was not a surprising move to me. I was aware it was going to happen when I played queen d3, but I think it's like a very temporary solution to things. I took this time to just go ahead and grab the pawn that he stopped defending. Even though it's not a super important pawn, the b file is now open. He goes rook c1, and he's like, oh, your rook is pinned, right? Question is it though? Like, what are you going to do, checkmate me? What are you going to do? You're going to bring your queen in here? Then what? I'll put the king on h3, safe. What are you going to do? Make move 41 to be safe, then go vom in the bathroom. That's exactly what I did in one of my games. God, I really be yapping about nothing in my chess games. I don't know. Blood Queen finds these educational, that's good enough for me. That's enough for me. If I'm ever questioning the reason I'm doing this. So I was like, all right, well, what if I just like promote my pawn? You know, like, okay, you go here, like, big deal. I go king h3, like, come at me. You know, like, what are you gonna do? He goes rook b1 because of course he can't go here. So he's preparing to attack me in this way. Now here I worked out a line to what I thought was the end of the game. I thought that I calculated till mate here, and I didn't. That's all I'll say. But I did rattle off several moves very quickly because I thought that I had... what I did was good, but classic, yeah. So I go f7. That's the most forcing move on the board. He has to go rook f8, okay? Queen takes a6. Rook b2, threatening to win. All right. And I just sort of... Rook b2 is not forced or anything. I just sort of assumed that's what he would do because it's his only source of counterplay. So rook b2 is part of my calculation. And here this is a forced mate in 11. But not this... I didn't do it right. So queen d6 check. King a7. And here, what I thought the end of the line would be is after queen e7 check, like... I say calculate till mate. I kind of just like, if he goes to the back rank, lets me take with check and then like come back, like I'm just winning. So after queen e7, he'll play king a6. And then I saw bishop f1, king takes a5. And I thought that queen a7 was checkmate. Can anyone tell me why that's not checkmate? Yeah. Queens go backwards. And so I played this line, okay? And these are all the best moves. Bishop f1 is like slightly inaccurate, and in this position I didn't see it yet. I didn't see, and I was like, why did he play into this? Why isn't he resigning? And I was like, oh, so that was like the one, like that was like the most recent my chess that was trying to like get in, you know, like the me that's been blundering ridiculous things. It was like really trying to get in, but I caught it, and I was like, oh, he'll just take me. But then I just took his rook and he resigned. So essentially I was right. The game was going to end on this move, and And yeah, it would have been great content, sure, whatever. But like, I just took on f8 because I was like, okay, like queen h1, I'll go king g4. This is not such a big deal. Let me explain something. So if I take on f8 here, or actually, yeah, sure. If I take on f8 here, queen takes here, h5. This is probably also fine. But again, like, why not keep the bishop on the board? And then if I take here, queen h1, there's like lines where I have to be careful. Like, for example, let me play a random move here. Here he'll have this, and he's like winning. This was all just happening in my head quickly. I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't think I was ever really at risk of losing, except for this. But my king was safe. Anyways, he just resigned because he didn't have anything here. What if he played h5 instead of resigning? Well, then I go queen a8. And he has to go here, and I don't know, like, or is a mate? I feel like there should be, because I just have to lure him over here, and I get a queen. Like, here? He has to go here. This is mate. I can promote to a bishop. Teehee? So he has to go here. What do we think? Just take the rook? Rook will be hanging? What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, I mean, I could do that. But then this is... I didn't see that. That's what I didn't see. Yeah, this is the solid choice. Is this more solid? I feel like I'd rather just take the time in this position and find mate. There's got to be a mate here. Like, come on. Like, okay, like, for example, I can just bring the other rook in now. And then, like, there's got to be a mate here. Here? Is this mate? Yeah. Something like that. Congrats on not hanging your queen. Yeah, I think that was, like, where I was the most at risk for playing something absolutely ridiculous. Like, an absolutely ridiculous blunder. I don't think I was, like, a huge risk at any other point in the tournament. To playing something. Well, we'll get to it. But yeah, so I beat NM Omid Malek Omizi in the first round. Not a terrible game, not a fantastic game. Okay, like 4 inaccuracies, that's not a terrible game. Anyways, 6 more games to go.